Good evening, everyone. Municipal Services and Environmental Justice Committee meeting. November 13, 6 p.m. My name is Donnie Carlos, Chair. We have everyone has an agenda.
Yes,
Okay, we have a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
I second the motion.
All right. Move to introduction.
Right here, sir.
New business. Okay, so we're gonna introduce ourselves and start. Again, my name is Gandhi Ambrose, Chair of Municipal Services.
Robert Barnes, committee member of Municipal Service and Environmental Justice Committee.
I am Argelia Ortiz, board member and also member of the committee of environmental and municipal services.
Josephine Fernandez Byrne, board member, committee member, first vice chair.
Marty Rogers, community resident. I'm with the Neighborhood Advisory Committee Garden and Immaculate Conception Church. Right here.
Sadie Brown with the Bronx Mass.
Sir, your name?
Edwin Vega of the Melrose Awareness Committee. And your surveyor?
The John Stephen Environmental Committee.
Juan Saldana, Department of Sanitation.
Says Jack, committee member and committee board member.
Mr. Francis.
I'm a fresh neighborhood resident and committee member.
Angel Garcia, member of the Melrose Environmental Awareness Committee and Rainbow Garden.
Owen Mask with TRC Engineers, consultant for the DC.
Hello, Juan Wong. I am the project manager, for DEC, for the Melrose Avenue.
And Rodney Rivera, Special Assistant to the Commissioner for Region 2 here in New York City.
Mr. Chairman, District Manager, Anthony Jordan for Broward Community Board Number 1. Ladies and gentlemen, our meeting today broadcast live on our YouTube page. And if you're speaking for the first time, please make sure you say your first and last name clearly so that we can be able to get you on our app to be able to make sure we take our minutes clearly. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Do we have a quorum?
We do have a quorum.
Okay, so we'll move on to the agenda. The presentation. Bronx commercial waste.
Yes, that would be, I'm all set?
Yeah.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Juan Saldana with the Department of Sanitation. This will be a 10-minute presentation just to announce the commercial waste zone program that's going to be introduced into the Bronx. And this rollout, of course, took place, it initiated October 1st, all the way until November 30th. December 1st, it should be fully rolled out here in 2 zones of the Bronx. So if you can, I guess you're controlling the.
Yes.
You can either pan to the television or just hear me out. So New York City commercial waste, every day over 250,000 businesses generate over 9,000 tons of waste, which is the equivalent of 2.5 concrete units to construct the Empire State Building. So quite a lot of waste. Turn to the next page, please. The transition to commercial waste zone system. Previously, the system was structured without a standardized framework for service. Local law 199, signed into law in November of 2019, divides the city into 20 zones. Private parties bid to provide service in specific zones. Each zone will have up to 3 carters who must provide high quality, low cost curbside service. For 10 plus cubic yards of waste via dumpster, compactor, and loading docks, there will be up to 5 citywide carters available. You can go to the next page. The benefits of the commercial waste zones. Competitive bidding keeps costs low. Transparent pricing, discounted rates for recycling and organics. Stricter customer service standards, increased training and safety standards, greater operational efficiency, less commercial traffic, safer, quieter streets, improved air quality, higher recycling and organic rates. Go to the next page. So this is the breakdown, of course, of the citywide rollout. It'll be a 10-phase rollout to be completed by the year 2027. You can check the DSNY website for that timeline and the cohorts at nyc.gov/CWZ. On the right-hand side there, you can see the actual timeline. We rolled out initially in Queens Central, and that was implemented in January of this year. You can see phase 2, which is of course Bronx East and Bronx West. You can go to the next page. This is just a map. The color coding has no significance. It's just to differentiate 20 different zones.
Okay.
And you can take a quick look there. You can see on the northernmost part, the Bronx broken down into 2 parts,
Well, that's good.
west and east.
That's good.
If you can go to the next page. Okay, these are important dates for Bronx East and Bronx West. Implementation period, again, October 1st, 2025 to November 30th, 2025. All contracts between Carter and business must be signed by November 30th, which is of course the end of this month. If a business does not have a signed contract effective December 1st, they will be assigned a Carter at the maximum rate and minimum frequency. So it's very important to roll into this program as soon as possible. Next page, please. How to comply. If you use a private Carter, there are 5 easy steps to select the commercial waste zone approved Carter and sign a new contract for the end of your zone's rollout period. Okay, step 1 is evaluate. Assess your waste, including collection type and frequency of pickup to determine your service needs. You can conduct a waste audit or request one from your Carter or Business Integrity Commission licensed broker. Next page, please. And step 2, identify. Find your zone by address and confirm which Carters are authorized to operate in your area. Bronx East is broken down to Action, Royal, and Five Borough. Bronx West, Action, Royal, Recycling Track System. And citywide will be Action, FICO, Recycling Track System, Waste Connection, and Borough-wide. And this is just an example here on the right-hand side of our website where you can simply input your address information for your business, and you will be able to quickly identify it as well. Next page, please. Step 3 is to compare. So calculate maximum prices based on your service needs. Using the calculator on the commercial website webpage, compare the maximum monthly rates Carters may charge for collection, costs, and additional fees. Carters must provide recycling and organics collection at a discounted rate compared to trash collection. And that's something that's new with this program. Compare the maximum additional fees scheduled per Carter in the maximum rate calculator. And that's an example of that calculator that you'll find in our website. And step 4, negotiate. Obtain multiple quotes from the Carters in your zone to negotiate for the best service and rates possible. Businesses should negotiate below the maximum rates calculated. Discounts on organics and recycling. All authorized Carters are required to offer a discount on organics and recycling. And the final step 5, is to sign. Sign a new written service agreement with the zone authorized Carter for refuse and recycling. If you have not signed a new agreement before the end of your zone's rollout period, the Department of Sanitation will choose one for you at the maximum allowable rate and minimum allowable service. Customers will have 30 days to change their chosen Carter before penalties may apply. That's it. And just a quick review of the 5 steps: evaluate, identify, compare, negotiate, and sign. Go to the next. And how to comply, the Carter decal. So at this point, you are officially enrolled in your commercial waste zone. And once your Carter gives you the green decal, you must display the decal in your establishment window where it is visible from the sidewalk. And that's an example of the decal that will have to be visible from the sidewalk area. And next page. Limited exceptions. A small number of qualifying properties may be exempt from hiring a private Carter. Qualifying properties must submit a request and wait up to 1 to 2 weeks for Department of Sanitation approval. If denied, you'll need to contract with a private Carter. You can check if you qualify for these exceptions for nonprofits, and there's the website on.nyc.gov/request collection service. Professional office is on nyc.gov/DSNY pro fee, professional fee service. And of course, any questions, that information is, of course, provided there, but I can also send links. Qualifying properties include city managed properties and nonprofits, and there's a breakdown there, everything from the city agencies, schools, police precincts. Professional office may be eligible for fee-based CSNY service or pro fee. Go to the next page. Containerization and setup time. This does not apply to businesses that have waste collected from a loading dock. Containers must be removed from the curb by the time businesses reopen. Businesses must separate their waste. So organic at a discounted rate and trash. Containers with a secure lid are required. Set out after 8 p.m. or up to 1 hour before closing. No black bags on the curb. Recycling also at a discounted rate can set out up to 1 hour before closing if using a bin. Can set out only after 8 p.m. if using clear bags. Set out cardboard boxes and newspapers bundled in bale. And here are some free resources for businesses. We do offer educational site visits, group trainings, taping events, video webinars, speaking engagement, and phone consultations if any further clarity is needed from business owners for that. And these are printed materials that are available. These you can download from our website. These are just official notices, also sample signs for labeled metal, glass, plastic, paper, garbage, single stream, and organics. And these are available for download on our website. And if I'm not able to answer any questions, I'm sure there's going to be some questions. These are two very critical links that you can definitely ask away for more detailed, in-depth information regarding the commercial waste hauling program. And I will open it if I'm available to open for questions.
Congratulations. Tighten up.
Chair will recognize. Yes, if anybody has any questions.
City fund tighten up the commercials. Okay, one question. There's a railroad track over here on the west side of the Bronx that you can take the garbage over there and you put on the bar and just take it out in the middle of the either ship it south, make up in the middle of the ocean. What are you gonna do about the railroad tracks over there, city?
Once you mentioned railroad,
It was home city garbage.
might be something more NTA, maybe the rail system. But I don't think we have any direction. But even though we utilize it, if you're saying you see garbage.
No, the city actually built it to hold the garbage. It's so cool. Maybe,
Yeah, it won't have sanitation people will be operating in, like the transfer stations. So that, and you said it's rail here?
if you ever go across 149th Street Bridge,
Right.
and you look down there, even on Madison Avenue Bridge over there, just look down there and you see it going around there, it's right there. And so they use that, your home of city garbage on there.
So your question is,
Yeah.
what's gonna happen with that? Is it not?
When the city built it, they hold it all the way over there where they got those, that bulk at now, where they got some building businesses and so forth. But they did have railroad tracks over there, they told them up the businesses over there, they took the barges over there. Now there's businesses over there, but the tracks is still there. And that was a big issue back in that, I remember
Mr.
when.
Francis,
Yeah.
Can we bring the question in relation?
Oh, yeah,
to
okay, what the city gonna do
Let's
about the
go
track
off
over
track
there?
for a little bit. Let's come back into
Yeah,
this. It can be retired. So anybody has any questions, go ahead.
One of the questions has to do with the organic stuff. How much education have you done in it? So also, how can this get picked up for the organic stuff?
For residential, for businesses?
For businesses. And
So-
later on in residential, because you mentioned NYCHA, so.
Right, so the frequency, once the contract is set with that business owner, they're gonna disclose how much trash they generate, so that will dictate the frequency of service. It's not like residential where it's once or twice a week, depending on the route. So with business, it might be dictated by how many trash is generated per business and the route that this private car is.
Okay, so per business. So,
It might be because some businesses will generate way more than others, and then the frequency will be dictated by that.
that's the concern. I do compost, so you keep it there for too long, it smells really bad.
Oh,
So,
right.
so it does the frequency of it and then how much it is. Some businesses, like, like Moyo Cafe, they produce a restaurant compared to the other one, they will produce less, the other one produce more, but if they have more and they wait there longer, it's gonna smell really bad.
No, it's something that's worked out between the private car and the business.
Okay. And the other final one is the one with, it doesn't matter what type of NYCHA, property it is, because you have rat pack, you have section 9, and you also have the trust. So you have different, ways of handling them, because they're different things, so
So with NYCHA is exempt.
it's exempt.
Yeah, from this particular program.
Yeah, right.
This is strictly
The city picks up.
for-profit business.
And they're considered not for profit.
No, but I guess I just misunderstood why it was here, because.
No, so I was disclosing the, as far as exemptions.
One last
Okay, I just misunderstood what it said here with the NYCHA stuff. It said you get a free, he said something like that, NYCHA would get a free something with the CNY. It was in the form.
That's his exempt.
I understand, but it said maybe eligible
Yeah,
for
they
free
have
DCNY service.
Yeah.
That's why I got confused.
Right, but it's exempt.
Yes, exempt, it's not really, part of.
So you got it here.
And they use the word
Qualifying
maybe.
properties,
Maybe, so
Right.
we saw
right here, that was,
some
because they're
circumstances
considered not for
it
profit, and that's example like NYCHA.
I understand that, it was just the wording
Yeah.
at the end, maybe eligible free DCNY service, so like they
Yeah,
accepted
and
again.
Oh, I see.
That is like, it's contradicting what you're trying to say.
Oh, one question.
Because the wording, that's why it just sounded contradicting.
I have a,
A quick question. You mentioned no black bags on the street, you mentioned that, no black bags.
As far as without, they have to be containerized. That's
They have to be put in the container has to be put out on the street. And the containers cost money, what, $50, $60 a container?
For residential
Commercial is
properties, they top out at 55 gallons. Commercial, they can use bigger,
depending on the size of
Right.
the establishment.
the stuff that they generate.
I think you're gonna have a problem with that. So thank you.
Last year, I think it was last year, they mentioned that, a lot of these places were required to have a container. And then I think we mentioned that DCNY, the city will provide containers to a lot of these places. And then, I'm not sure that's still happening. The other one has to do where I've been to some businesses and they're complaining about where they put the containers, you have to lock it up or something because people either they take them or they mess up with the trash. The people that are trying to get containers, are trying to get bottles and everything out, and they just mess up everything. So is the city providing free?
The only time you saw containers with organics rollout, the initial rollout, the brown 13 gallon bin.
Okay.
But as far as for trash,
Well, the last time that
and
they
we're
were
talking
about black.
residential or?
There's two different things.
Yeah, yeah.
It's residential and
This is
commercial.
commercial.
This is strictly
I understand, but they were talking about the organic stuff in that time period. So then they were saying that you could get I
Just
think it
for
was black,
residential.
DNC, and white. This is why it creates confusion because people come in from DCNY last year with the organic stuff. They were mentioning this organic stuff for a while. And they were mentioning about like they were required to have containers. So and then there was saying that later on in the future you might have to be required to get city trash bins.
Oh, so that's all residential,
That's
that's the
residential.
official bin, which will be next June.
June 2026.
That's residential.
If you're a star family, you can get the money back too. If you
Right,
Star.
right, there's a voucher that you receive, that comes from the Department of Finance.
Okay, thanks.
I have a quick question. When you make these changes, how do you reach out to establishment?
So we're out.
How are they informed? By
Everything from social media to us just door to door, going out to these businesses and telling them to enroll as soon as possible, and then giving them the only options that they have.
So you're telling me that I could say every store
Should have
around
a
149
notice,
should
yeah,
get, they
yeah.
receive one of these?
Sure.
And because sometimes it get a little confusing sometimes. Is there any way sometimes that, through a business district, you guys can have a presentation to store?
Oh, absolutely,
so they can-
absolutely.
Because I always find the city to be coming out with some, when they make changes, it seems like you have to be hunting to get a detail of those information when community have an answer to.
So right here, for example, this is a link for all.
Wait, this is
these-
like a photo op.
I'm sorry?
This is like kind of publicity right there. I don't consider this one to be. I want to reach somewhere where.
Oh,
the
like in
community-
person, yeah,
the community
absolutely.
actually
But this
reach-
is how you reach out
Because
to us.
this guy cannot walk to every single store.
No,
That's what I'm trying to
we have a
say.
team.
Yeah,
We have
that's what I'm
a
saying,
lot of
exactly,
people that
right.
do that.
Because
It's not just a peppered individual.
When you walk down some commercial, you see that they put a chain on those garbage stuff, right? Do sanitation open the key, the lock to move stuff because it's too big?
It depends, what bin are you talking about?
There's the one.
The quarter bins or?
Yeah, no,
or
the one that
ones
established, yeah, these companies.
No, so for example, if it's a business, that's something has to be worked out between that private quarter and the business to coordinate that, right? If they want to give them a key to those chains, that's
Because I see they all have a chain and a lock and.
That would be,
every time I pass,
that
I'm
would be the
wondering
owner to
how to
prevent
get-
theft,
to get-
but
yes.
once that private car comes to service it, if they're on chain, they're not gonna get the stuff collected. That's something that they have.
That they have to arrange.
Now, a big difference with this is that sanitation now has oversight, also enforcement with these cars. That was the thing. So they have to maintain a performance, so there is sort of right evaluation that will be available once a year. The Queen Central one will be available this upcoming January, and that will be available to the public. So you can see how they're performing. If any business has issues with these private cars, they need to. right away
So
let
are
us
you
know.
telling me that if there are 3 stores, this store can choose their own color and this one choose their own
Yeah,
color?
and it benefits them because now those three will
They
be
come in competition.
and the rates will be.
Okay. Because I thought it was, before was like one, they give you.
No, it's a zone, but they have the option of those three, and between the three, it's up to them to basically
To
see what's the
decide.
better rate.
Oh, okay.
And the three cars will compete with the customer.
Okay.
It'll benefit the business.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So a question about finding the business when usually in this district, we have an issue when we have priority rate carters who pick up business to pick up trash, don't always clean up behind themselves. Sometimes it happens very sloppy in the removal. What is the department doing to ensure that best practices are being followed by the folks that you provided, that the business is supposed to be contracting with, and who receives the fine usually when things like that are not being taken care of?
So the first thing that any business owner that experiences that should do is call 301, because that's also the record of them calling and stating, hey, this is not our doing, this was the private carter that we utilized, I already reported it to the carter and sanitation, at least there's record that they're the ones that are being neglectful. That's step one. Step two, now there's our oversight, so if we get too many complaints, we can definitely have every right to break that contract with that private carter. And since there's only 6 in total, but 3 main ones that would collect everything, if they're not up to par, they could lose that contract and they would have to leave the boundary of the city. So the other carters, they could be subcontracted with these 3, but they cannot solely operate. There's hefty fines for that.
What if you already have a ticket? What if you already got a ticket because of the sloppy work of the car?
Oh no, but for now, if there's a ticket disputed, you can.
So the establishment has to go say that the car is the cause of it, right?
Yeah, you
So
definitely
isn't this
report
an extra, I think this is.
Well,
It's kind of.
The thing is that at the moment,
Mhm.
we're rolling out, what's the rollout?
Right,
What's
but after
December
rollout,
1st?
after rollout.
So if there's an issue with the carter, this might be a carter that might not be even one of the 3. So that business doesn't have to worry about that particular one anymore. If it's one of the current 3, we're gonna have oversight. So how they were performing in the past shouldn't move, they should not be behaving in that manner going forward. There's everything from safety procedures, even rear view cameras that are mounted on the Commercial trucks. the commercial
Oh, they
light-
do have that,
They don't have it. That's something that we will require as a safety feature.
okay.
So it's a lot that we're gonna, implement on
Yes, they do.
Is the, commercial vendors responsible for the cleanup? Let's say somebody's going by and opens the trash can and opens the bag and gets everything off the sidewalk. Are they responsible or the store owner?
So, ultimately, even in residential properties, you're responsible for that sidewalk in front of your property, extending 18 inches.
No matter who makes the mess?
Right.
Okay.
I'm saying report it in the event that, because it's unfair, someone is causing a problem that you can get a fine, report it, there's record of it. When it goes to the opioid division, they will see that, and that they can show leniency. So it helps.
So may I ask a question? Okay, so the procedure would be, you would have to what, call 311 and report that. And I know that even like, for example, at the garden, at the Rainbow, somebody left a mattress, a whole mattress, and there's constantly an amount of debris being brought there by the public. You know, and the garden people manage to sweep up around there all the time and clean it up.
Right.
But for some reason or the other, sometimes it keeps getting worse and worse, and it's a total public, because everybody walks around there in and out. But do you understand an example of what I'm saying?
Right.
And I mean, when I saw, but they got into the habit of throwing mattresses on top, in front of the fence of the garden, on the side there, and my concern is that, because we are responsible for that area, you know?
Well, again, if there's record of it, we know it's a hot spot, and we will monitor, have enforcement out there. So if you know of any particular areas like that throughout the neighborhood, let us know.
Okay.
And we'll do our
At
best. to
the
stay on
end, I'm gonna get a direct number if I
Okay,
can
yeah.
call from sanitation, okay? Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Just, like talking to some businesses and you have like these programs like residential, you have commercial, and there are some businesses that say I'm with Royal Cafe, I'm with other entities, and then you have these programs coming in with organic stuff. So is there something like you could like put all this together, what's happening overall with the different things at the same time? Because there is education stuff as well, because I'm telling you, organic stuff, you just leave it there, it smells really bad, and then you have a residential area, and they're not educated regarding that, that also goes to smell really bad. So it does, right now you say like DCNY will do more in those areas, so for all the people out there is that, because sometimes for me, I have to learn it on the spot by talking to the businesses and what's happening, and say, I'm not responsible for this stuff here happening in this area because it's DCNY's, jurisdiction. So then it creates confusion with that residential people. It's like, oh, they're here, but then they're supposed to clean as well, but this is they're on the outside. So remember, there's two things happening when you go to 138th Street. You see that area, and from Brown Place all the way to St. Anne's, you have a mix of residential, commercial, and they have to bring the things outside, and then people take stuff. That's why they have to change all this stuff. So it does create confusion with people as to what's happening, and I think there has to be more education as to the different programs together.
If it's a mixed-use building, there's a.
Exactly.
So there, the tiebreaker will be the landlord or the owner of the building. He has to maintain the order and say, hey, anything, because if it's a ground level business, they should have someone, either maintenance personnel, to take care of any messes that are created in front of the property. There should be some maintenance person taking care of that. Residential, the landlord, if there's tenants causing problems for the business, then that should be voiced to that landlord. And that landlord has to create a structure that's something that's functioning.
I don't understand that you telling me this, but I'm talking about the
We
public.
can outreach, we can definitely, we need to know the location, the
outreach
place,
and
and
bring
have building management wanting to have us there to do a presentation, and
Exactly.
you know, that's something that we need to know
It
about.
just creates confusion.
Right.
When you go out there in the real world now, or something here, in the real world, it just creates confusion. When they come to me asking a question, I can answer because landlord, he had
Send
these
them my
in
way.
wagons
You
and
have
that.
my contact information. Anything that's too complicated, any clarity, give them my contact info.
Okay,
I'll help
thanks.
them out. And support. Okay.
Man, all right, so thank you, Chair, thank you, sir. So a question about, I know that there was some concerns when we first heard about this program, about the monopolization of this program, and understanding because the department has said that there were 3 carders that were being used to be able to determine the difference between any of the who likely will be used. So I wanted to learn more. Here you go. I wanted to learn more about how the department chose those carders and what are we doing? How is the department evaluating whether or not these carders are doing the best attended?
So to make it fair, of course, each of the 3 is from the smallest, middle size to a large one, to make it fair. Also, the 3 didn't really command substantial fair value as far as the overall carding business. So they were, there was a bid put out, a criteria that they had to meet. And these 3, there's more information in detail, the links behind you, but they were chosen based that they met the criteria that sanitation was looking for, and that's how they were chosen. But each is not equal size, each are not dominant in the market. So we chose 3 that, can have fair play.
And that actually are matching the 3 to the size of businesses that are like.
Well, that's a good question. That might not likely be the situation. It might just be, they're operating in overall the zone. It could be that breakdown, but that's a very good question that I'll take back. That I honestly don't know how that will be broken down.
Right, and are certain businesses, depending on what they're carding, anywhere between food waste for restaurants to hair from like a barber shop, or to bodegas or stuff. Are certain businesses or all the carders are able to do all type of businesses with all type of waste?
The top 3, which will collect basically anything, with the exception of medical waste and things like that. But they will collect basically anything. The top 3.
And how is the department evaluating this program? Is this a pilot or permanent program?
Yeah, this is each has a 10-year contract with the city. So we will basically complaints, anything that we will have oversight. We'll have supervisors, basically white on rice, so to speak.
Right.
We'll be on top of you.
And my last thing, I don't know if you talked about, what is the enforcement fee schedule for a type of offense or how many offenses when a business or does not follow?
You mean like a private car operating?
Right, so the private car comes and pick it up, the business is not cleaning up, the business is not providing the car road and stuff, they're dumping trash bags, they haven't caught up with the requirement.
Right, so depending on the infraction, usually starts at $50, and then it could be $100 if it's someone who's chronically not doing the right thing, or reporting this to 301 is not they're doing, the fines will go up to $300 or $400. If there's like for a sidewalk condition, it'd be $50 to $100 to $300.
And then my final question, Chair, is that the goal of this is to ensure that commercial districts especially are maintained clean, pest-free, et cetera, to ensure a period of time.
Yes.
And enforcement is ongoing 24 hours a day, because we know that some people park their stuff out in the middle of the night. It's like when the rules that residential units have to follow. I just want to learn more about that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So I have just one more question. Do you actually do this same presentation with the economic and the commercial district as a whole? Because I know they have a meeting. All the business district.
If need be,
When you say need be, I would have thought that you guys have a contact with that.
And myself, I'm doing community boards, pretty much almost all the time. But is there any specifics? They might have been covered, but I have no knowledge.
Okay, so I would, let's make sure that we have that, because I know the bid. Those are.
I'm sure, because we have our own commercial waste.
Yeah, we must, because really information are capital. I don't think the city's in the business of making money, but the city is in the business of educating so people can do better. Unless the strategy is to make money, then they say, we're just gonna show up and do what we have to do. So I think we need to make sure that side is covered. That all the establishment as a whole are informed and then move forward with the project. So, anybody has questions?
You said it was a 10-year contract, but is there a mechanism in case somebody is blatantly not doing their jobs?
Yeah, we have reserved the right to break the contract.
Okay, good to know.
That's good. All right, anybody else?
Thank you so much for listening, and I'll provide you with my contact list.
Thank you for coming, and we're looking forward, it's always a pleasure having you.
Make you say,
No. I have your number, so I will work with you. I'll provide it. Yes. When it occurs 311 though, because that's the track.
ROC never follows up.
Huh?
Never follow up with me.
They never sent you a picture?
Oh, Ambrose.
No, because I sent to him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, now he's blaming.
At the corner there now.
I sent to him.
Blaming you.
Yes, of course, but you always make the help, it's okay.
Always out the door.
I want to know how do we get more garbage receptacle in the corner? That they're very few coming out there.
They stole 2 of ours.
But that's why I understand they keep stealing them.
All right, so
But
thank you,
they're-
thank you for coming.
And then you can't look, you put the cans, somebody will take my cans. So that's why they said no black, they want no black bags on
And
out
we put
there.
it back in the corner garbage.
What you gonna do, stand out there with, put chain on the cans?
I do.
Well, I think that's a good idea, chain it to the pole. They chain the poles, I think that's a good idea. Because you gotta understand, we're responsible for that.
Diana,
That might be a good idea, that might work out here. Yeah, because you're considered, you're considered responsible. I'm sorry, I'm gonna come around also.
What they
I'm
gonna
looking
do?
at the sunset. Yeah.
Yeah, I do. It's nice to go fish and play, see through the feed,
Yeah, I gotta say some good things.
I didn't put in my tax.
And she's responsible for cleaning up, you know, and I don't understand, but everything that my car and throw litter and everything. Because they don't want to do it in their car. It's not fair to the homeowners. Yes, yes, because they don't want to bother to save it for the receptacles, the garbage receptacles. But I still feel they should be covered.
They don't find them, that's the problem.
They used to a long time ago.
I have,
Okay, are you guys ready? Okay.
I have some handouts.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pass them, one's in Spanish, one's in English. So but they're both there. This is, and these are just, this is.
Send it this way. Will do. Yeah.
Isco injection.
I'll send this one to you and then I send it to you. That way it's harder to-
This is an issue all by itself.
Just send it to her. Alan, send it to her.
Oh, I don't, no, not even.
Yeah, you want, I mean,
Translation for this.
That's all it's Spanish.
Okay, sorry, I only have the English one.
Okay, no, that's fine. It's
So it breaks it down, I've got into,
Thanks.
You sure you're gonna clean up the air when you sniff it around
All right, clean up the air, we're dirty in the soil.
Oh.
And then I'll send you that.
This one's just a magnet.
What's the Spanish, what is English?
You got all the English ones.
Right, here's a Spanish one, and what I just gave you.
Yeah, it's Spanish. Yeah.
What's the Spanish, what is English? Just one confirmation.
Yep, sure.
Maybe just give it to the audience.
Yeah. Here you go, take one. And,
These, they're not stapled.
oh,
I can put them together.
here's the map.
Okay.
Take one and pass it down.
Take one and pass it down.
Yeah.
This is.
If you don't want it, then pass
If
it
you don't want it,
down.
just pass it down. Yeah. All right, thanks. Yeah, that was the Spanish version of this. No, the other one, it's kind of similar color coding.
I think everybody got one of these.
And for many years, they tried to ignore it.
And this is just, these are,
Yep. Here,
this was contact information.
say something. Say something. I'm sorry.
I understand.
Take one pass it down.
No, I understand, but it does cause liver cancer.
You gotta get like,
Are you gonna let us know what are all the documents and what are you gonna go through?
Well, these are more for information. But some of those documents are, yeah.
Okay, just so we can make sense out of this stuff here. Yeah.
So, this is Spanish,
We're gonna turn you into Puerto Rican by the end of the night. All this English and Spanish stuff?
No, you don't have this one in the package.
And it's all Greek to me.
About that.
I'm sorry. Will you just give me a Spanish English package, Diana? You get the map. You get the stuff.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, showtime.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
It's empty.
Yes.
But something floating in the head that they supposed to know.
Wait for the burn. Okay. It's in the back. Wait.
Okay.
That's fine.
I might have to go back. Wait.
Special thing.
What's going on? What's happening there?
Go to the back and find out.
We recorded.
Yeah, they,
I guess the cleanup has to have it here.
Wait, how was it?
Okay, ready?
I'm glad to be here, sir.
Can somebody pass me tissue?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Side. Make you side. Okay.
I know, right?
The sign of joy is here of joy. I got to meet my idol tonight.
Oh, really?
Chef Omi.
Oh, wow.
You went back?
That's amazing.
I'm back. I'm hiding it. I ate. I already ate. They had great food.
That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah. I took a picture of it and I left. I said, I gotta go.
Wow. That's wonderful. Are you going to taste all the samples too? I love her a lot too. I love her a lot.
She was the top chef.
Mr. Chairman? Okay, all yours.
Hello, everybody.
Hey.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Alan Wong. I am the DEC project manager for the Melrose Avenue site that's in the remedial program. I just want to say thank you for letting us have this opportunity to talk to you guys tonight. Along with me here is Owen from TRC. He is our engineering consultant, DEC's engineering consultant. And we have Rodney Rivera over there. He's from the region, Region 2. And also online, I actually have the Department of Health project manager, Sarita, Renata, and also my supervisor, Ben Rum. So they're listening in, and just in case, there's any questions for the Department of Health. I wanted to.
They did not.
Oh.
I have an HDMI, but he wasn't there.
Oh yeah, they're watching through the YouTube live feed. So
They're listening, they're not watching.
Yeah, but he wanted to
I
broadcast
was
on the
wondering
screen
if
there.
that could have told everyone can see who.
That's all right.
oh, they're not.
Okay. All right, that's fine.
So I was just going to give an overview of the site. I am on the technical side of the project. So I'll try and explain as much as possible. If there's any questions or if there's any confusions, please let me know, and I'll try to clear things up. These are actually kind of small for the whole group, but so this is the Melrose Ave site. It's at 753 Melrose Ave. And right now it's just an empty vacant lot. But back in the 1950s, it was a dry cleaner. It operated there. And then in 1968 is when they destroyed the buildings that were there. And since then, it's just been an empty lot. So this was, yes, back in 68. And so we didn't actually find out about it until there was so this is the fire station. I don't know if you guys can see, but there's a fire station down right here. There was a spill at the fire station. And so in 2013, the spill happened. And when we were doing investigations, we saw that there was, there was an oil, there was these PCE, and it's cis-1,2-dichloroethene. And so we didn't know where that was from. So there was a series of investigations to try and find, where this contamination was from. And then, so eventually we were able to pinpoint it to the old dry cleaner site, especially since these two chemicals are, usually used for dry cleaning. And so that's when we were, we started our remedial investigation, and through a series of sampling, we drilled wells and for the entire area so that we could find, where this contamination was. And so you guys should actually have a map. And it's this map with these circles of different colors. And on here is actually, so on here you'll actually see, do you guys need a map? we have more maps?
But was the spill in the basement or the apparatus floor?
No, we think that it was on the top floor. So we don't know if they were just, dumping out chemicals out of the back, which sometimes we've seen it happen at dry cleaners.
When you talk about the 50s,
Sorry, what was that?
you talking about the 50s.
Yeah, they were operating in the 50s.
Yeah, but at one time the city used to clean out the drainages and sewers.
Okay.
Then they stopped.
Yeah,
So that could be the backup from there.
Yeah, well, so for this,
Yes.
this is actually deeper. This was in the groundwater. So if on the map, there's all these circles, these blue white circles, and these are all the well water.
It's a bad place.
All the monitoring wells that we drilled so that we can test the water. And so from that, we were able to actually map out where the contamination was. And so since 68, it's slowly moved down. So, it's not right where the old dry cleaner was anymore. And so the red is the highest concentration, is, the most contamination of the PCE. And then we have the orange, which is a little bit less. On your map, it'll actually show, what the amounts are there. And so we were actually, so there's a red one all the way at the bottom, a monitoring well.
Mm-hmm.
And so what that one was, that's the latest one that we did so that we could make sure that we could find, the edge of the contamination. We call it a plume. So this is in groundwater, and the groundwater is 16 to 20 feet below the surface. But anyways, through our investigations.
To be clear, real quick, groundwater is not used water. That's not the water that comes out of your tap or your faucet. You don't use that water or interact with that water at any time.
Yep.
Just to be clear.
Yes, because actually, the area is actually supplied by pipes, and I think that there's a reservoir further up
New
north.
York water. New York has good water. It comes
Yep.
comes from upstate. New York City gets some of the best water.
That's right. Croton. It's come from Croton. Croton Falls.
Yeah, but that's one. There's a couple of areas up there.
Okay.
And so in our remedial investigation, we tested the soil that was there and around. We tested the groundwater, and we also tested something called soil vapor, which is sometimes when the contamination is in the water, it'll come up into the air pockets, and then the I suppose danger for that is it can come up, under buildings, if. So it's been, since 2013, we've been doing a series of investigations. And so what we found, we took samples, sent them to the lab to get the exact amounts. And actually, we have the data so this is a document repository here. So we actually have documents here and also at the library. I forget the name of the library.
Woodstock.
There's Woodstock, yes, there. And so
Could you explain what a repository is?
yes, so a repository is basically a place where the public can go to get information on the site. So the public documents that the DEC puts out, like reports that are finalized, newsletters, fact sheets, all that kind of information, the public can go and get it from there. I think at the library, they only said that they would only have it electronically. But I think you can print it out there if you needed to. Because otherwise, what we usually do is we usually provide hard copies. And so through our investigation, we found that there was not any, there wasn't any identified exposures that people were not getting exposed to this PCE and dichloroethane because the soil came back, and everything was below levels of residential values. We also did a series of, so it's what it's called is soil vapor intrusion testing. And so what that is we'll go to buildings and we will actually, we'll drill a hole in the slab, so in the bottom of the building, to test the air under there to see if it has contamination, soil vapor contamination. And so we did 3 rounds. We did in 2017, 2023, 2024. And we focused on the buildings that were along this contamination plume, because that's where the real danger, would be if there's contamination, if there's soil vapor contamination coming up. And so through our 3 rounds of testing so far, we haven't found any elevated levels. The only thing that we did do is the police station that's across the street. We found, slightly higher levels under the police station. We also, tested the air inside the police station, and we didn't find, there wasn't elevated levels of contamination. But just to
Out of precaution.
out of precaution, yes. Out of precaution, we installed something called a SSDS, a sub-slab depressurization system, which is a lot like a radon system. So basically, it takes the air from under the building and it'll vent it. It'll take it through pipes and vent it out. So that was just as a precaution, because the police station is usually always occupied.
Talking about PSA 7.
So what was that?
Talking about PSA 7 up here.
Yeah.
Yes.
I got it. And so through our investigation, we figured out where the contamination was, and so we came up with a selected remedy, a record of decision, as we call it. And in the record of decision, we try to find the most cost-effective and method to clean up the contamination, but it also has to be able to make sure that we protect the environment, and human health. So it has to be protective of both. And so the remedy that we finally chose is called in situ chemical oxidation. So what that is, and so this is to treat the groundwater, because that's where the contamination is from this. And so you guys, I think everybody should have seen this, in case you can't see. Yeah. So what this is the wells that we installed, and we're going to be installing some extra wells. So the contamination is down in the groundwater. So we inject, or I guess we put a chemical or an oxidant down there. Potassium permanganate is the one that we found. And so what that does is that interacts with the contamination and breaks it down so that it becomes less toxic and inert. And then, and so that takes time. So right now, so we're still in the pilot study phase, which means that we're testing to make sure that it is effective and that it's going to work and that it's going to clean up the groundwater. We have had one, so we've already, I think there was an email that we sent out, but we did do one round where we injected the chemical, and after you inject the chemical, then we have to do sampling just to make sure that it's working. And if it's not working, then that's where we go back and we figure out, we tweak.
And so to be clear, when he says working, the process is tried and true tested.
Yeah.
The fact of shooting chemicals into the ground to lessen the toxicity of this, that's a proven method that's been used in the past. The pilot is to make sure that the amount of the compound that is being used is the right one to do what the job is. So they'll go through that process to make sure that it's working.
Yes.
In that respect, just to clear it up, that it's not like something we test.
Yeah, and to add to that, we do what's called a bench scale treatability test, which essentially, when we drill these wells, we take soil and we put it in a vacuum, if you will, and we have a specialized laboratory that will test different loadings to see which is the most effective. And that was used to decide the concentration for the pilot test injection.
Just to be clear, just one quick thing. I appreciate this explanation. So it is your company, TRC, that's actually doing this project on behalf of DEC, is that right?
Correct, yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Which is maybe a silly question. Why don't you just tear up all the soil? Where's the chemical?
It's in the groundwater. The reason we don't tear up the soil is because, the buildings, and if excavation is one way, digging up all the soil is one way that is a possibility. The problem is that in a place like, here in New York City.
The disruption on
Yeah.
3rd Avenue.
But the former site, the dry cleaning store, that's where it's coming from, right?
That's where it originally.
That's the original place.
Yeah.
But what we're talking about is where it migrated off.
But there's still some in the vacant lot, probably.
It's very low. There's not really, because it's, you know, it's followed the, I guess, the groundwater flow south. So it's mostly down back, I guess, in the spread circle now. So the actual original site really doesn't have much of the contamination anymore.
So as it sunk down into the ground and
Mhm.
migrated with the water, the groundwater, it kind of moved and migrated down to the neighborhood. But you're not really gonna knock down any buildings, or you're really
No, I
not gonna
understand,
dig up
but
Third
the
Avenue.
source, man.
We're trying to,
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
Now, how long, I see an explanation here for how long this cleanup takes, which it indicates it's relatively quick, it's saying, and then usually taking months or years rather than several years or decades. It's kind of saying the same thing to me. I'm kind of not understanding that explanation. Because in that case, my question is, how many years does it take? And I'm seeing on the physical level, explain to me about the monitoring wells. Is that a way of monitoring?
Can you hold on to, so we finish the presentation, and then we can follow up, because then it's gonna throw us off, I think. You just hold on to that for a second, then you finish it, then we'll go back to the questions.
Sure, I can finish up quick. So yeah, so ISCO is the, is what we call it for short. So I just wanted to give the upcoming schedule. So, you know, because, you know, we're still trying to figure out, since we're still, you know, in the pilot study phase, we don't have exact dates, but so they, you know, it's possible to change. But right now what we're planning on is to finish up. So what we actually have to do is we have to go back and we have to clean out some of the wells, because there's, you know, sediment, soils in the wells, called redeveloping the wells. And then we're gonna go back and sample again the groundwater. We're gonna take samples of the groundwater again in February is what we're aiming for now. And that's just to make sure that, you know, everything is working the way that we want it to work, the way that we expect it to work. Because, you know, we do tests and, you know, we have a certain expectation of how it's gonna go. And then that'll lead to the completion of the remedial design. Then what we'll be able to do is put the full design together, so we know, you know, we know exactly what we need, how much we need, and, you know, about how long it's gonna take.
Okay.
So we're planning right now, as it stands, about summer of 2026 to really start the cleanup.
To clarify that, when we say the design, we're talking where the wells would be located, the amount of them that will be utilized.
Yes. Yep. So that won't actually be the physical work. It's just the design. It's you know, all the specifics about what we're going to need to do in order to, you know, clean up all this contamination in the groundwater. And so yes, so in about summer of 2026 is when we would start the process of, you know, of actually mobilizing, you know, of getting people out there, of putting the wells that we need out there, of knowing how much of the oxidant that we need.
Because the first step would be actually creating the wells, then follow that up with the injection of the wells.
And so we call that the full scale implementation is when we go through and we actually go start the whole process. And so that process right now, we're assuming about 3 injections maybe.
That's
Right?
more scoping. It's gonna ultimately be based on what we find in our
So-
groundwater sampling, but yeah.
So that'll be 3. So yeah. So right now we're thinking it's going to take 3 injections where we basically go out, you know, and we put the oxidant down in the groundwater, and that'll be one injection a year. And then from then we let the oxidant work on the contamination that's in the groundwater, and we do long-term monitoring of the groundwater. So we'll come out periodically. We'll test the groundwater to make sure that, you know, everything's working, to make sure that, you know,
Chemicals breaking down and doing what it's supposed to do.
Yep. So yeah, that's mostly what I have. I really wanted to, I guess, leave it up to questions.
Oh, is he finished with the presentation then? So you're ready for my question then?
Yes. Yes, we
Okay.
are.
My question was, from the beginning, that I was trying to understand the monitoring wells. And like I said, the question of how long does this take?
Yeah.
Because this cleanup with that's been a very long process. Okay? I mean, it's taken, well, I can't even call it several years just to implement it. took a good 10, 20 years itself, just to start getting it cleaned up. And then we had to kind of, advocate some more. I mean, it's an issue on top of an issue.
Yeah, the investigation process is always a long, tedious process, and it could take years and sometimes decades.
Okay, so
Depending on
that
the
means that the
complexity of-
cleanup itself, because I'm seeing the explanation that's given here, and it's really not answering. Remediation via ISCO injections is relatively quick, usually taking months or years rather than several years and decades. Well, that is years. Okay, and then I'm seeing, what exactly, do these monitoring wells, what do they do? They're monitoring the job
Yeah.
itself of the oxidation?
Oh, okay, so yes, but these monitoring wells are basically, so they're there so that we can go and we can take a sample of the groundwater. We can go pull up the groundwater and then send it to the lab so we can test. So, yes. So it's not actively, monitoring the water, but it's so that we can go out there periodically and get the water. So we have access to the groundwater.
Gee, a timeline question.
Oh, yes.
This design will be, the hope is summer 2026. After the design, then it's the implementation of drilling the wells. That takes.
Yeah, it depends on the,
Depending on how many.
it
just said
will
it's 3
take
years.
probably a couple of
Yeah,
weeks
they're
to drill the
once a
wells,
year.
and then, then there's a process.
And then once the well's in there, you're talking, as Ron said, at least a 3-year period of injections occurring annually every year. And then the continuing monitoring. The hope is after that third injection, things will start doing what it's supposed to do, hopefully before that. And we'll just still continue to monitor periodically to making sure that that the right changes are occurring.
So, do the wells stay permanent?
Yeah, they're gonna stay there until they're gonna stay permanent. In the future, if we find that all the contamination has been cleaned out, then we might close them, decommission them, so we fill them back up and, but.
But until we're certain
until we're certain.
that everything is done,
Historically, how long have you kept the well? Historically,
How long?
how long have you kept it?
Well, I mean, there's some that we've kept for decades.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're still going back to it and keep monitoring.
If it's an active site, yeah.
Yep.
If it's
Yep.
active under the program.
And back to what I was asking you, so it's 3 rounds of testing, so when did you originally started this whole process? How far back?
So in 2013
2013?
is when we found out, we didn't know where it was coming from.
Right.
We just knew that, that contamination was
2013,
there.
you
Yeah.
started the
Mhm.
process
Yep.
until today's date.
Yes.
That's when we found it, and the investigations technically
Thank
started a
you.
few years later.
I'm done.
Yes, go ahead.
So you keep saying that they're going to use chemicals called oxidants. What's the chemical name of the oxidants?
Potassium permanganate is the oxidant. And so that's going to interact with the PCE and the dichloroethane, and that's going to break it down so that it's
What's the name again? Potassium what?
potassium permanganate.
Yeah, think of it like a peroxide, like that type of reaction.
It took you 12 years to figure this out.
Sorry, for which one?
2013 to 2025.
Well, yeah, because it was a process, because we have to, we had to install the wells. So we had to, as we sampled, we were able to get, closer to the contamination. So we didn't, drill a bunch of just monitoring wells to find it. So we try to stay more focused,
But just for the record,
Yep.
in 1995, the DEC came to tell us that the Brown and Ferris Bronx Lebanon Hospital Medical Waste Incinerator on 138 Locust would not have any detrimental effect on the community. And the DEC and the DEP said that as well, and they were wrong.
Okay.
And the Browning Ferris Industries Medical Waste Incinerator was the last medical waste incinerator in the city of New York. And for 6 years and 8 years, the community fought and said you can smell it, and then they finally closed it.
Okay.
So the concern is it took you 12 years to figure this out, and it's going to take another 3 to 4 years to know the answer.
No, I think we already described that we know what's there. It's just to implement this solution, it's gonna take the next few years.
And what if potassium permanganate doesn't work?
Well, that's what the pilot test is for, to make sure that it does work. We won't get out of the pilot phase if it doesn't work. We'll change the compound, the levels of the compound to make sure it works before we put in taxpayers' money into laying out all of these.
I'm not worried about taxpayers' money, I'm worried about these human beings' lives,
No, of course,
brother.
but what I'm saying is that we're not going to be wasting money laying out all these wells if we don't know that the chemicals are actually doing it.
Well, you wasted our lives for 12 years to figure this out. Yeah, I know it takes time, but 12 years is grammar school and high school.
Can you identify
Right,
yourself?
Marty
but
Rogers
just to be
from the
clear,
community.
as he stated at the beginning of this.
I always recognized to ask the question.
No, excuse me, yeah, no, you're well in your rights to ask a question, and just to address it, as he mentioned earlier in his presentation, that there is current exposure pathways for this chemical that's from this source. So unless anybody in the neighborhood is digging 15 feet down and kind of, bathing in this stuff, the only possible way to interact with it, what would have been the soil vapor, which is why we were going through those years into buildings to do that testing to make sure that only occurs if there's some cracks in the foundation of the building that's allowing that to see through. It happens. I'm not going to say it doesn't happen. As you noticed, we saw something slightly elevated in the police station. So that's why we ended up putting something in as a precaution. It wasn't above the levels of concern, but it was just something that we noticed, and we said, better safe than sorry, because there's officers in the building 24/7. We want to make sure that, we just took that.
But they're building 20 feet down on Bergen Avenue and 150th Street.
Yeah, Cesar.
Now,
Can we move on to the end?
I had a couple of questions. One of them is,
Name, say your name.
Name?
Say your name.
And then it says a young committee member. I have a couple of questions. One of them is, you said it was a proven method, and I want to know, is the proven method the same type of density and the same type of structure as our community? You mentioned proven methods. I just wanted to know, where are these proven methods? Is in the cities, is it high density? A lot of the buildings. So that's the first question. The other question it has to do with, in this area, it slopes, right? It's a slope.
Not a lot, but
Not a lot of
it's just a little
slope?
bit, yeah.
Okay, but if it slopes, it has to drainage. It has to drain somewhere. And
Yes.
it might be a pocket of stuff. Is that little area being degraded, like the toxics, whatever we call it, are being degraded over time, or those the toxicity of it?
Yeah. So
That was,
go ahead.
the hotspot areas is essentially what we did before we did as a first phase of the pilot test, we did a baseline groundwater sampling event, which is where we collected samples from all the wells to get a new kind of idea of where the concentrations were spread out and where those were the highest. And we used that to as a basis for selecting our pilot test injection well locations. So the pilot test was targeted towards the highest.
Okay, and the ones related to that is so it's not spreading anymore, right now?
No, well, I mean, I guess it is slowly, very, very slowly spreading. It's been, I don't know, almost, 40 years, and it's only gone, just a little bit farther. But it is
Are
moving
you
very, very
saying
slowly.
because the slope and gravity, the gravity takes things down, so then you look at things and it goes down, you're gonna have a concentration of those things.
Yep.
Then if it doesn't stop there, it's still gonna be spreading somewhere.
Even when it migrates with the groundwater, that was part of what helped move it along also. And that's why we spread out those monitoring wells to make sure we're finding where it's stopping.
Okay, and the last one has to do with exposure. So there were studies done by EPA and all these other places. It could cause cancer, it could cause all these problems. At what level were in exposure where somebody caused effects on people, do you know?
DOH want to answer that, man?
Yeah, I can see with the concentration.
To the original first question, I don't have a list with me, but the systems are in other boroughs throughout.
Sarita, do you know the level for PCE Here, let me. Okay. There's any screen, but
But there was study done in 2012, and then they found some things that PCB does cause that. But I just want to know the exposure level.
Yeah.
That people might actually start getting cracks.
so yeah, the maximum exposure level.
The minimum.
The minimum. Sorry, the minimum. I can't hear you. I don't have it off the top of my head, but I can probably look it up as well.
Hello.
Oh.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, I can hear you.
Hello. Yes. Yes. Exposure. There is no exposure at this place because the minimum level of trichloroethylene, tetrachloroethylene, and trichloroethylene both are not detected in indoor air and in any of the places where the salt vapor intrusion was conducted.
Okay. Yeah, I think he's just asking what.
More of a general question.
Yeah, it's the general question, just what the level is.
That would be in micrograms per meter cubed, and it is like for tetrachloroethylene, it is less than 2.
Less than 2.
And for trichloroethylene, tetrachloroethylene, it is 30, and trichloroethylene, it is less than 2.
Okay. So less than 2 for, sorry.
Micrograms, right?
Yeah.
That is for tetrachloroethylene, it is for subslab.
Mm-hmm.
And the actual numbers, I can look up and let you know.
Okay, if you could just type it in.
Yeah.
But also, actually, to go back to your first question as well. So we didn't just pick the oxidant and just throw it down into the groundwater here. There's actually lab work that we also do before we actually come and do the work out here. So we test it on the groundwater that we take from here. So we know that it'll work in the lab, but we just want to make sure that it's going to work here in the real world as well. And so that's why we do the pilot study. And this process and this chemical is actually something that is a very common technique that we use in general, not just in the city here, but all throughout the state is one of the main, options of treatment that we look at.
Both systems, the air system that's inside the police station, that's something that we've used in other sites throughout the city and throughout the state. Also, the injection process, just so that you know that neither one of those are something new to the agency.
Yeah, he's gonna excuse us once we finish with the bomb. Sure.
Could you remind me again how you discovered something to do with the fire department?
Yeah.
Just conversion.
Absolutely. So there was a spill. I don't know if it was an oil spill or petroleum spill that happened at the fire department. So when that happened,
What year was that?
2013 is when the spill occurred.
Okay.
And so that's when we came out, and then we clean up the spill, and then we take samples of just to make sure that everything has been.
And that's when we noticed there was other things in the samples besides just what was in
So
the
that's
spill.
what triggered all
So
this.
that was that didn't come from the spill.
Yeah.
There's got to be something else going on here. It's
And
non-petroleum,
And it took you that long to figure out that it was the cleaners? Wouldn't the city's records show you that there was a cleaner in the area? I mean, I'm just.
Well, yeah, we use both.
Yeah, but like he said, it took you over 10 years to figure out where the source was, but wouldn't you?
Finding the source didn't take the 10 years on its own. The 10 years was finding the source and then finding
Where it went
where the plume itself went to.
Okay.
So I was doing those monitoring wells, doing the sampling, all that process took that decade or so.
Okay, thank you.
And then back in 2017, we're out here doing field work. That's when we put in the system and we were going through the neighborhood and informing folks and trying to get into other buildings to make sure that we can test as best as we can. The unfortunate thing about that is it's up to the landlord to allow us to go into a building to test. We just don't have the authority to kick down the door and go in and sample. So if the building owner doesn't give us that permission, we have to move on.
Does it happen? Some cases
It happens a lot more than you believe.
Yeah. Mhm.
that landlords do not give you access. Even homeowners in some, we have this happening in some boroughs in Brooklyn where it's single-family residential homes, and they say, we'll pass, we'll just rather you not. I think it has to do with folks get concerned with property values and stuff of that nature. I don't know how you juggle property value
Yeah, but
versus
so it is
your
something in the
health,
neighborhood
but-
that can affect
There's no
everybody
laws
across
that
the board.
govern whether the city can go in, the EPA can go in,
We
regardless of
don't-
whether they
We don't have
refuse.
that authority.
Not you, the city.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Because it's going, if it's
Because
causing
it's
a
still
problem,
private property.
If it's, but
Still
if it's causing a nuisance throughout the whole community and the source is in somebody's property, I think the city should have a way of coming in and try to resolve the issue.
Well, like you said, it's the value of the property once
Yeah,
they
yeah,
get reported. It's like-
I understand what you're
Yeah, I know,
saying,
yeah.
but at the same time, it's private property, it's folks dwelling, they own it, and, you know, the government just, at this point in time, don't have the authority to kind of
Okay.
just kick down your door and do
Because
whatever we
if
want.
it's down the block, right, it affects the whole sale in the neighborhood. Because when you buy a house.
Well, that's why
it's
we'll
not
test,
even-
that's why we'll
it's
test
asking
outside, that's why we'll test outside in the streets, because if we don't get, we're not getting access to a building, we still wanna know that where the plume is migrating to. So that's why a lot of our, most of our wells are all out in the streets, to follow the track of the competitor.
Do you have a list
Somebody
of
behind
all of the properties that you have tested and the ones that have denied you testing access?
Can you identify
Can you
yourself,
identify
please?
Oh, sorry, Sadie Brown.
We do have a list, although we can't share personal data, but there are,
Addresses don't qualify as personal data.
I'm sorry.
Addresses don't qualify as personal data.
well,
That's
so
public record.
mostly it's gonna be also, everything that's along the plume are the buildings that we have either tried to sample or have sampled. And actually, that was also a question that I wanted to ask the board. I don't know if it's possible. So there are some properties where we are not able to get access. Property owners do not want to give us access to do SPI sampling. So I don't know if that's something that, I don't know, we can ask for help for to maybe talk to the property owner to see if we can get in there. And we can provide the addresses that we're trying to sample. So we're trying to do another sampling event, just to make sure that nothing's happening in those
Does
buildings.
it have, when you say in a property, meaning, what do you mean by property? Meaning outside?
No. It's so actually under the building.
We're going to the basement.
How, oh, going into the basement?
Yep.
Okay.
Going to the basement.
The lowest floor, yeah, it might not be a basement, some, not everybody has a
Somewhere, yeah.
basement.
Well, that's what someone was asking, if there's no law in a book somewhere, because if it's causing a nuisance to the community or to the environment, I think you can't sit there and say that cannot be inspected, and we'll all be suffering from it too. So I think,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, we just don't have the authority to.
Okay.
We did mailers and
Uh-huh,
we're not, canvass the property.
In this case, we know where the source was, because it's that vacant lot, so we were able to track it throughout the neighborhood. The problem that you're kind of talking towards is, how it would affect the building or house itself and any occupants in there. So that's why we would sometimes want the support of community organizations of folks, like yourself, to, if you have connections to the landlords, because unfortunately, a resident of the building or an occupant of the building isn't enough. You need the actual.
Yeah, but
relationship with the landlord.
don't the city has a registry for all the buildings, you know who owned the building?
Yeah, we sketch it, we got that information, and we send them, we reach out to them, we send them, requests, and a lot of them come back, thank you, but no thank you.
In fact, we just recently sent out letters again.
So it's not that we don't know who they are, it's just they're not giving us the access. Some of these folks, like you said, there's still a list of.
I don't know how much we can do.
Yeah.
We can't force them, it's a private.
No, yeah, I mean, we just, if there's by chance, there's a property owner that's on our list that somebody may know or have a relationship with that landlord.
We also have
property
to
owner.
know that at least before. we
Yeah.
can go.
Yeah,
Well,
we
we
can-
can get into that,
Yeah.
we can provide that.
Because some we have been able to get into, but some we haven't, which we would still like to.
All right, so we can move, you have a question, right?
Yes, Edwin Vega, from the Rainbow Garden. My question is, since this plume has been around and it's spreading, why not offer health screenings, health tests to the residents in the area. What guarantees you have that this hasn't harmed people living in the community?
Well, so the reason is because, I don't
And
know,
where's the proof?
I have the proof of, what's
Well,
that?
Documentation that this is not harmful to the residents in the area.
Okay, so the proof is actually, so we have the data, so we send all this, so we take the samples, the soil samples, the air samples, the water samples. We send them to the lab and we get certified results back. So you can actually see what those results are, compare them to what the standards are. And, it's not exceeding the standard.
But I guess to get to the crux of your question is how do you get exposed to this chemical? And it's 16 feet underground.
Right. But there
So
hasn't
one
been
ex-
no health
That is
studies
question.
either, right?
I'm sorry?
No one has been tested for harm.
Because there's the health department, I can't speak for the health department, but they've concluded that there's no exposure pathways.
Well, how do we know that if no one's been tested? That's my question.
It's because we test whether the contamination is even there. Especially through the SVI testing, through the soil vapor intrusion testing. That's why we test the soil, that's why we test the air. And if there isn't any contamination there, then there isn't a pathway for exposure.
So that question has been brought up a lot in the past, and it lingers on because, for example, there's a whole residential building right next to that land. And DEC really never came around and did any kind of survey with the residences there. And again, we've been going back and forth with this now for a long time. Okay, Angel, we took and did a whole survey of the different addresses throughout the area.
Since 2017, we've had folks out
Yes.
here going door to door, trying to get into the homes. The homes that we've gotten access to, the testing was done to see if there was exposure. None that I'm aware of that there's been of any issues, Alarm, correct, right? Because of all the soil vapor testing we've done, we haven't found any.
Yep, that's correct. And the only one where we even saw a little slightly elevated levels.
So to his question, which is also your question, is we haven't come in contact with an example of it occurring that we need to put a system into a building, other than the police station, which was slightly elevated, not to a level of concern to, above the exposure levels, but enough for us to just say, look, let's just out of precaution, let's put a system in there, cops are in there 24/7. Let's just be safe, better safe than sorry. But we haven't seen in any other testing that we've done, any other location that has sparked the concern.
Francisco.
I want to know how much.
Sorry, go ahead.
Somebody can answer that.
Hello, Alan. I can speak to that.
Oh, so sorry. This is Sarita from DOH. She's the project manager for the Department of Health. I don't know if.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to answer that question regarding exposure. There are no identified exposures related to this site. Therefore, there would not be any associated health effects based on the investigations that have been done so far. And no one is drinking the groundwater, so there is no exposure through groundwater. The main exposure here we thought was through SVI, soil vapor intrusion, but a lot of sampling has been done in the buildings nearby where we suspected there could be something. And in all the places we have seen that there is no impact in the indoor air. Some of the other buildings we are trying, but of all the investigations that have been conducted since the first one was in 2017, then 2023, and then the recent one in 2024-25. So all the investigations have shown that there is no impact in the indoor air for soil vapor intrusion. So that is why we are recommending that only a particular, only particular number of buildings will be tested.
She basically repeated what we just said. We went out there separately, and there's nothing, no hits that rose to the level of concern that a system would have to be placed. Again, to Alon's earlier point, we would like to do another round of testing in some buildings we haven't gotten access to. We're not getting a favorable response from all of them. So we are requesting from groups if they have any access or connections with some of these landlords to assist in that way. That doesn't stop the cleanup process and the injection process. That's separate and aside from that. That's just, to make sure that these buildings are being taken care of.
Caesar, committee member, so I'm trying to think of timelines. So we have other case studies, you said there from New York City. The first question has to do with, how much is there, right? Like regarding contaminants, how much?
Yeah, we have a good idea, yeah.
You have a good idea, okay. And the other one is the rate of spread. Is inconsistent? Because you don't want like 3 years and it's spreading more.
Yeah, it's been
we're not spreading more than what is there.
Yep, because we've taken samples for monitoring over many years. And so that gives us a good idea of, how fast it's moving, where it is, so we have.
To the earlier points made by everybody, we've been out here for a decade already, doing these and watching this, and it's moved. Barely, but it's moved.
And that south well too was installed during the investigation because we had kind of anomalous, we had data that was inconsistent with the prior round, so that showed us that it was still moving south, so we installed the well to the south to get that delineation.
Because I just mentioned that because the last time we spoke at the school, tell me if I'm correct, it's like it didn't find other things you might have to put wells in other places. Because we had the hotspots already there, but you might find that in other places you might have to put wells somewhere else. Is that correct? You telling me that?
And in fact, if you look at I think you should have it. There's actually wells that are outside of the plume, and that's how we know that the contamination hasn't spread that far, because those came up without any contamination.
Once you do one well, what's the radius that one well will cover? Any idea how?
I guess it depends on. Do you have is there a general?
It's just spatial coverage. Yeah, you just kind of get an idea. You don't want you don't want them too far apart, but you want a representative area. So you can see they're pretty clustered together. And so you just don't want to move too far apart, but there's not necessarily a set radius that it'll.
And that's why
sorry. I was just saying it's dependent on a lot of things like the flow of the groundwater and the soil.
And that's why actually, so all these wells weren't installed at the same time. So as we got more data, there were more wells that were put in so that we could really, pinpoint exactly where everything was. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi, Angel Garcia from the Melrose Environmental Awareness Committee. Just first a point of clarification and then, a question or two. Just in terms of clarification, what I'm about to say, I've gotten from the DEC website, from your own website page about site 203009, which is the number that's attached to this Superfund site. And there are reports that go back to 2004. So, and your own documents, and a couple of us have seen this on your own documents and your reports. It says that it was in, and I don't really want to sort of focus on the accuracy of dates and timing, but I just want to point this out for the record. It says that this fire spill happened in 1997, and that subsequent to that, there are reports, the first report that you have on your database page of these, of the studies that have taken place. The first one is in 2004.
Okay.
So you've been looking at this problem from 2004 to now, which would be 21 years, rather than 2013.
Sure. Let me
I think it was in
double check.
2013 that you designated it a New York State Superfund site. So just points of clarification. It goes
I'd have to
back-
look at the spill
it goes-
information. Because it is possible that there
Well,
was
well,
more
I'm
than
getting
one
this,
spill.
I'm getting this, and a couple of us have
Okay.
verified that report on your site.
No, I
It goes back to 2004. And I know from 2004, there were reports in 2004 to 2007, annual reports of the actual drilling that took place, of the establishment of the wells, of the monitoring wells, and reports of the different chemicals that were found during that time. That was the first round. And there were 41 monitoring wells established in roughly an 8-block area, from north of 157th Street all the way down to the end of 153rd Street. And I looked at the tables of your engineer, which was a different engineering company than TRC. No knock on TRC. I'm sure you're doing a great job. I see you're a large, experienced company. But anyway, so you had, so those were the first set of details that said, okay, there's a problem here. And then you looked at it some more, and then in 2017, you conducted this full-scale study with another company, and in 2018, that's when you came out with the report that said, okay, we have now decided this is a site that requires remediation. It was a remediative investigation report that's needed for this kind of thing. So that's part of the whole question of why these processes take so long. They were trying to figure out exactly what.
I can't
I'm
take
just
it.
providing
No,
information
it's
coming
okay.
from the site.
Yeah.
I want to get to a question, but I wanted to make clarifications about the timing.
No, I just want to add one point to that. Until it was designated a state superfund money wouldn't have been allowed to be allocated to do any of the work. So whatever date you mentioned, because I can't argue the dates, I was only here since 2011, but anything prior to the date that it was made mention that it became a superfund site, that's when state superfund money would have been able to be utilized to move forward on any investigation or any parts of the project.
Okay. Well, the study, right, various studies have been taking place. It's on your website. There's a page with a list of all the reports, all documents that have been created related to site 203009. So we're grateful that there is an actual testing phase to move toward a remediation design phase, to a remediation implementation phase, to hopefully a closing out phase. And our hope is that you're going to be reporting to this community at each of the phases. Since you're reporting to us now in the pilot phase. That's something that our committee and our members of our community have advocated for the last 3.5 years, just for the record. And we're glad that this is happening. And we encourage you to come back, and we actually encourage you to go to some of the religious and educational institutions in the area to make the same kind of presentation. We hope that that's something you can consider. Now, in terms of, communication with the residents concerning their, there's environmental testing and there's health testing, and there's also sort of communicating with them to explain just what's been going on. Because people have seen drills going down into their blocks since 2004, folks. I mean, just, that's for the record. And again, I can refer you to that website. And like nobody's told them, and we're glad that now DEC is telling people with this effort. We hope that you will send out that letter to all the residents of the affected 8-block area where all of the monitoring wells were established back in 2004, 2007, because we feel that people who've seen all this drilling deserve to know, and not just a property owner, Joe Schmo management company of realty management company of, these particular buildings, but it should be everybody who lives here, because we're all walking on these blocks over the area where the contamination is going. So we that's just for the record. We still stand by that everybody deserves a letter, not a website, not a QR code.
What's your expectation on that letter? The result?
It's just a letter to say, hey, folks, just want to let you know, there's a problem in this neighborhood, and we are fixing the problem. And the problem is X, and the fixing is Y. Just like what we're getting.
Saying that, I don't mean to cut you, but let's say there is a problem in an area. Wouldn't that raise more problems, more concern? People kind of get, instead of sending a letter and say, hey, we've been doing a survey, these are the results. Whoever wants to get more detail.
To your point.
Well, I want to clarify why I was asking the question.
Okay.
If I could. If anybody who is going to sort of promote a product or a service or a change in program needs to take sort of a multi-level approach. As, for example, our friend from Department of Sanitation just did. He's going to be going to the business improvement districts. They've got materials. And so the same kind of thing should go to people here so that they understand what is it that's happened for the last 21 years that there's been drilling here. And so that then they can be reassured that this is what's happened. Since this is a threat to human health, and that's on the DEC website, this poses a significant threat to human health. That's why it's a Superfund site and not a brownfield site. And that was in the 2018 study that they did. 7 years ago.
The difference between Superfund and brownfield is a voluntary program that you have somebody who's responsible for it and is doing the work there. Superfund site, the differential is that you're spending state taxpayers' money, and that money is being allocated from the state to do the work. So there's a difference. It's not about the level of contamination between brownfield and.
Yeah, that's not what I read, but I'll accept your explanation.
Is acid doable?
Well,
Now,
so
what I mean, let me just make sure I'm clear with it, right? When I say doable, meaning what? Can the community be informed?
So the community who's
test result.
potentially the buildings that we have sent it out.
Yep.
One extent to
So
we've sent it out to.
So we did identify, those areas, the buildings that are along the plume, even their apartments. We sent out letters to all the residents that are potentially affected, not just the building owners. So how many that was?
What date was that? What date was the mailing?
If we've done that, because we're gonna see here go up back and forth, is if you guys have done that, my concern here is that if I get a letter in my community, there is a problem, I'm gonna really get frantic. Maybe it would just be, but had you send it to me, say, hey, we have been conducting a test in this area for AYZ, right?
Yep.
These are the test results. It's not alarming. It has not reached a level where we could be really concerned. I think that could be a piece in my neighborhood. But if you come and say to me, hey, we got a problem, you don't need to explain anything. Just the word problem, we put in.
Right, and just to be clear, what we were asking for was explanation of what is the situation, right? What is the problem? What is the program that has been initiated? What is the $3.4 million, 3.5-year program that has been initiated to solve this problem? What's the status of things now? And why are we taking this approach? And what does it mean for you as the resident of this area?
So to be clear.
So that can be, I think that's a pretty intelligent way.
It's not what was just described there, because that's what we're doing here, that's what we're doing in the fact sheets, that's what we're doing in the mailings that have been done. The dispute between us and some of the asks we received was to the universe that was being asked of us to broadcast that out to. It was larger, much, much larger than the potentially impacted buildings and area. And if I'm not mistaken, that's where.
No, how many letters did we send out?
That was where.
Yeah, I'd like to know where and when. I don't know of anyone who has received a letter in the neighborhood, and we talk to people in the neighborhood all the time.
Do you have a copy of that letter and who was sent to?
We do have a copy of the letter, and I can send you a copy of the letter. But what we're also doing is that letter that we sent out, we're adjusting it so that we can send it out as a community newsletter. The reason that it's gonna be a little bit different, it's because in that letter, we were specifically talking about, that if the building occupant is able, to speak with the owner at all, so that maybe we can have an opportunity to go in and test the building.
The language is a little different because it's
Yeah.
pertaining to what
Yeah.
you wanted.
When you say newsletter, right? We customarily get used to see that foldable document, it's thing that come the membrane, right? Versus something coming out of the envelope, right?
We send them in envelopes.
So
I think.
when you say community letters,
Yes.
right? I think the attention may be very less because of people read from them.
Yeah, and we're describing two different things though. You're talking about a newsletter that you would like to see.
No, he mentioned that you guys publish things through a newsletter.
Yeah, I think it was over
But
100.
what he's talking about is addressing the letter to a resident.
Yeah,
Say,
we did.
hey, we've been doing A, B, C, D since this days, and these are the results. But these results are not so threatening, so that's the reason why we have it. I think that one is doable, and that would make everybody at peace in the neighborhood.
Right. I want to point out,
Instead of
I just want to point
trying
out,
to be defensive or
right,
offensive,
and just,
that is not going to lead us to anything.
Right.
You want to get your job done without any problem. And you also want, the reason you serve in the community is to make them be comfortable. You don't live here. We live here.
Mhm.
So we want to make sure that whatever you're doing, just send a letter out with the report of what you have done in the past. I think from what he's saying, that would make somebody comfortable, and they will probably be able to be known that somebody is taking care of whatever issue we have in the community.
Okay.
right, just to say, again, for the record, about two, maybe three different times, we've submitted a list of the 240 addresses, the buildings that are located on both sides of Melrose Avenue between 157th and 153rd. We did the footwork and jotted down the addresses, put it together as a tape. They've had it on March 7th.
And many of those are outside the plume and aren't impacted.
Oh, it's outside the plume.
Right, but our belief is
Not
that,
impacted by the plume.
right, but the question of impact is a critical thing. If you live in an area where all of this drilling is going on, you can go to all the monitoring, 41 monitoring wells, and you see that they go all the way from 157 and north of 157 down to 153rd. Since that 2004, 2007 initial drilling period, it is a question of fairness to the people who are in the area, who see all of this stuff going on in their neighborhood, and of environmental justice, since this is an environmental justice committee hearing that is going on. As per the requirements of a New York State citizen participation plan, which is a plan that needs to go into effect, needs to be put together to reach out to every single affected stakeholder in a given community where there is potential contamination. That plan, which should have been issued, for the record, back in 2004 when they were beginning their first report, was not issued until 2024 when we alerted them to the fact that they had not put together a citizen participation plan. It was a plan we found out about because a similar dry cleaner project in the city of Yonkers did get a citizen participation plan in 2020. So we were looking for our fair share.
With all due respect, Angel, there's a
No,
lot
that's
of
factual.
there's a lot
There's
of
no-
misinformation there. We told you we were out here in 2017, knocking on doors, sending letters. A system was actually put into the police station. The system was not needed at the fire department. So to say that we were not here in the neighborhood at all.
Not what I said,
over
not what I
these
said.
decades or engaging with the
Not what I
community
said.
is a little disingenuous.
The citizen participation plan was developed for this project in 2024.
And
If you look at the list of the documents on their page, that's what it says.
Let's we're not gonna get.
No, but I just wanted to point out that that
I get
the
it.
full information is needed, full testing is needed, and people should be given that opportunity.
Can you make your inquiry in writing?
Yes.
We have.
Yes.
Are you kidding me?
We've answered-
I'm happy to send it again and copy you, Mr. Ambrose.
We've answered them.
Yeah.
Like I said,
And we've made some adjustments to the plan, we've enhanced the plan.
And we appreciate
To
that.
address many of the points that he's asked for. but there's some that we feel, to your earlier point, that were a little bit more than necessary, or a little bit more than feasible. And I think that, I guess the dispute it would be the impacted community. I guess that's where it would be debated of who is impacted. Is somebody a few blocks away from the plume considered impacted? That's where we would kind of come into some dispute.
So,
Debate.
he had, I think, he had the plume, and then I think he had like a yellow area.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Is the yellow area the study area?
Yes.
Yes, it's included.
Okay, so if that's a study area, that means every person from that place should get letters, because that's your study
Yes.
area.
Yes.
I know your plumes is where the effects might happen if you have exposure or something. And I know you mentioned like the groundwater will is too low. They probably don't hit the groundwater sometimes. So I understand that, but according to what Angel's saying, what he's saying, like if your study area is a yellow area, all the people there should get letters explaining what's happening. Some of them might not be exposed or anything, but if you put in stations in other places outside the plume, because you're trying to figure out the spread. I mean, they're supposed to get letters as well. Just explain.
So yes. So actually, first, nobody's been exposed, but yes. But yes, we sent letters and envelopes to all those.
Yeah, sorry,
Yes.
I understand that, but we have. Remember, we are talking about community. Okay. It's not about me. It's not about me. I live in Millbrook, so it is. All of this is about communication. That's the key. So, the why he's saying, all the people are saying, including myself, is like, if your study area was a yellow one, because that's what we saw all the time. When you came in, when you went to Chantel Jackson's office, that was the thinking. Like the yellow area will be study area in GIS and all that stuff. In the city plan, we will have a study area. All those people in the study area are stakeholders.
Right.
So regardless, they're not in the plume, they should get information. And they say, "Oh, you're not directly in the plume, but we are just informing you because we might have all the stations here, and then you're not going to have too much exposure." The Department of Health is saying like this is not really contaminating the groundwater. Simple things, not write all these letters. Like I feel like I'm reading a book. The simple things it's just information to people. That's all they want. And then and sort of like a timeline. I know it's hard to have a timeline for it. Just be like, no, this is the information, and I would suggest deciding those places that have the same density as this year, and you did those things before. Like I told before, where are the case studies? I told you the similar things that are happening, because then you could look at them and they could say they took like probably 5-10 years. If the other case studies are similar and it took 10 years, you're gonna expect 10 years for this. So you need to have something that people could relate to.
Okay.
So like just that.
So I think that's an easy ask. You said you have a database with all the addresses. If you don't have it, they have it. They can find.
So we actually already mailed. We just recently mailed, sent a mailer out to all the houses. Over 100 letters.
Within that cluster.
Yes, all
the yellow area.
All within the cluster in the apartments.
Anyway,
the yellow area.
There's no reason. I mean, there's no way for us to verify who received it.
I can email it to you.
So I'm just saying.
Okay.
Because
we should get a copy of it.
We have to be practical. Well, as in a copy, he can just give us copy from whatever they have, but that doesn't mean that Joe or Peter got it.
Right.
You understand? So they say they send it. Let's trust that they're doing it. Did you receive a letter from them?
No, I mean, I don't live in the area. I'm a volunteer in the area.
So,
but nobody that we know in the area in
we're
8 blocks.
We're gonna solve this thing, right?
Yeah.
No, but what I want to just very quickly, my name is Argelia, and I'm part of also the Melrose Environmental Committee, and Marty, those of us who have lived in the area for a long time, it's been over 40 years that we've lived there, right?
70.
And 70, okay. I mean, we can go back and forth, and this has been one of the main things that we've been going back and forth with the DC, because the truth is, I don't ever remember DEC coming around with any kind of documentation regarding that situation. Marty, I don't know, maybe you can say something about it, but
I don't think we can go back on
I'm
history.
saying that
No, let's don't go back.
to bring out the fact.
We can't go back on the history. We've been on this matter too long.
Wait, but no, I don't think we've been on the matter for too long, because this situation has to be resolved, and I feel
In here
that
today.
as a community, since the Melrose Committee feels that DEC did ignore us on that level. And it's something that nobody wants to hear. Okay, and I realize I'm saying something that upon with DEC will be controversial, but sometimes the truth is gonna hurt a little. Okay, I think DEC did ignore us because we're Melrose, and if we would have been another neighborhood in another area, it would not have happened that way, and that's all I have to say about that fact.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah. 2 points I wanted to raise, clarification of. One, on the question of a national emergency.
Excuse me, could you identify?
I'm Johnny Stephen, I'm with the Meadow Road Environment Committee. I'm also a part of the Meadow Road Garden. And the point of property owners versus a national emergency, I don't see that to be a clear point, because national emergencies, when masses of lives is affected, and our national government that we pay taxes to, they will move in and provide this service, whether it's fire, bomb. I worked around the move bombing. I worked around different situations like that where FEMA or different emergency move in. So I hope that to be clarified. The other question is that I didn't understand, I didn't get a clarity from the health department. Was anyone tested for any environmental so what? I'm talking beyond the police station. People in daycare centers, there's a school right there. If people have autism, was anyone tested? And that wasn't actually made clear.
People were not tested. To answer your question, individual people were not tested.
Yeah.
Department of Health did not feel that individual testing is warranted because there was no exposure to warrant that. So they did not sign off on any individuals being tested. What's being tested is buildings,
Okay.
locations.
Yeah, I think that should be visited. Because people live in buildings, we're taxpayers, and just to test the building is beyond. Now, I asked a question, and the Environmental Protection Agency is on the phone. They could have answered that question, and I got fine because I don't want to. My final question is that people, like he stated from Angel stated, but the whole question, what was happening with a Superfund up in Yonkers. I read that report about the Superfund and Environmental Protection Agency as well as the DEC. And it's not a level of organization that was given to this community that was actually won in that particular case. In case the Environmental Protection Agency is here, the DEC is here and so forth, and different levels of organization. And I'm glad they came down and made a presentation. But the community who actually lives here hasn't had resources, hasn't been given a greater opportunity to really say what's going on and to really provide the services to get the immediate care that we need, whether it's from the Department of the DOC, the Health Department, or other department, and so forth and so forth. So I think that's something that we should take up at another point, that if we want to have a meeting, if we want to take ad out in the newspaper and have that meeting, if we want to have like a public hearing and so forth, or do more door-to-door, that we should be given some help, because we provided 3 different services, including the door-to-door mail-in to the DEC and other help. So that's something that I think we should study as well. Thank you.
If there's a desire for the community board to get a specific answer to why folks aren't tested, we can probably get the project manager to put that on, to write that and have that sent to you guys, just so you can know why they, so that answers this question of why folks aren't being tested.
Okay, I
Because
think
it's
that-
very difficult for you to hear that.
I think they have
information.
been meeting with by the Chantel Jackson, which I attended few of them also, that you guys been always coming to those meetings. And I think again, the problem I see we having here is a communication issue. The way the community see things and the way the government see things, right? So I think we can find a common ground where, again, I'm not finding anything difficult on that communication they're asking that you guys cannot do it. Let's kind of help also the community. Because we live here, right? We want to have a clear mind. We don't want to have a concern while we're living here. So if you can produce that letter, again, the letter which you say, we have been doing the testing in the neighborhood, we have found this is a result. And point also to the library. If anybody wants any further information, detail, they can go to that library. But before they do that, I'm expecting you to say, hey, on that letter, you talk about the issue, what you guys have been doing, chronologically, so people know that something is happening. I'm not saying send a red letter out and say, hey, alarm, there's a problem in the community. No, do that. Everyone that has more concern could be able to do that.
To that point, and to some of what Angel mentioned, the letters that we received from them and the request, some of those things we did add to enhance our communication. The posters on the site, that was something that was suggested us that we added to the discussion of the newsletters, that was something that, so it's not like we ignored the community and what they asked us for. It was just, we had to weigh in on what's feasible versus what we don't feel is feasible. And that's what we're here to continue to learn more of what the community is looking for and where we can meet you and common ground.
And
That's our goal. Because we're gonna be here.
I just
for
want to
a
add
few more
really,
years.
I just want to add really quick. So yes, so I understand where you're coming from. I really do. Nobody wants, that contamination around. Nobody wants to wait around for it. There is a prescribed, public, I guess, notification that we have, and through communication with the MEAC, with the Rainbow Garden, in talking with you, you guys have mentioned that the communication hasn't been as well, or the information hasn't been distributed as well as you would like. So we have been taking additional steps to try. I mean, that's why I'm here too. That's why we tried the community availability session. So we are trying to get the information out as much as possible, and we are open to continue talking to figure out how to continue to communicate with we're very open to it because I feel like if everybody can understand what it is that we're trying to do, it would help.
I think we all understand. I think the community understand. The way we're having the little problem. Is a communication issue. Now let me just put this there. And just say they have a database of everyone that lives in the area. Would it be too much to ask to take that database from them and send things out? Because the key here, the Plum area has been a target area in email with letters, right? Now they're just saying, hey, let's just expand a little bit so everyone that walk into the communities knows what is going on. Just an information issue, right? You think that would be too much to ask? We can do that.
I mean, we can discuss trying to send a different letter, not one where it says, like there's contamination.
No.
But
we all agree that you need to
a more general
letter. That people be aware that something, because he mentioned that people see a lot of those.
We would just have to revisit his database because, again, honestly, it was a very wide scope that was presented to us, outside of even the study aid area and outside of the impact.
Even when you do random sampling,
you
you kind of decide based on your own factor that I'm going to pick this area to do random sampling. Somebody can come and say, hey, instead of doing this particular area, do my area. So I think you guys are technically well enough, scientifically capable of pick where the sampling can be done and the letter can be sent, and then we should move on. Can you have 1 minute?
Are you to settle this area? Their study areas are yellow, so that is the area.
That's
it says a yellow.
Yes.
So that's the study area. So the plume is inside the study area. So that should be
expanded. So it's been expanded. So there's really not a need for us now to be drilling about it. That went beyond the plum area. So, okay, so,
That's the area that they should have, that's it.
okay, you guys have anything else to add?
I don't know.
Anybody
I
has?
have a quick question.
Yes.
So,
Can you always introduce yourself?
Sadie Brown, regarding the ISO
Sadie Brown.
injection, Sadie Brown from the Bronx Times. Regarding the ISO injection, once they neutralize the contaminant in the groundwater, will that also take care of the issue with the soil vapor?
Yes, and well, we haven't really found an issue with the soil vapor, but yes, so the reason that we want to treat the groundwater isn't because people can be exposed to the groundwater, but because of the potential for the soil vapor to be contaminated. So yes, it'll.
I thought in the reports it did say that there was contaminant found in the soil vapor.
There.
But you haven't found a contamination point for that to ensure the public, yes.
So the testing that we've done, so when we do test the soil vapor, it's usually under the buildings. And so we have not found elevated concentrations there. We did find slightly elevated levels under the police station, and that's why we put in that system. But yeah, and that's actually also why we want to get access to those additional buildings, which we can share the addresses so that we can make sure that, there isn't any soil vapor.
You raised an interesting question. That police station, it's relatively new build, but put up a little 30 years ago.
Okay.
And they might have, when they did the building part, they might have hit something and exposed something. Like you said, the elevator. That's something that God what was there before we kept it down low. And what they want to put the new building up, it might just raise up.
I mean, that could be possible, yeah.
We've been going back and forth with this situation for a long time.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we pretty much went through everything we can possibly.
Well, everybody's still walking.
And I hope that we keep continue this investigation, we keep informing the community, because really it's very essential that we continue with the more information. And I'm
Absolutely.
sure
That's our goal, is to continue to be in communication. Anthony has my email information, we emailed before, so
Yeah.
any questions come up after we leave, you could absolutely shoot me an email and we'll gather up the information that you're looking for.
And we have all the emails, the DOH, mine.
Oh, yeah, well, you can use that card.
All right, thank you guys for coming.
Thank you, yeah.
I think we're looking forward to see you again.
Yeah, we'll be around for a little bit.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Yes.
Well, you pay attention.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. All right.
Close it.
Okay. That means get out, guys.
Yo,